Thank you to everybody for making time in your busy schedules to come to this year's gala. Your generosity has been amazing over the years, and I'm sure it'll continue this year. Each and every one of you is a vital part of the fundraising that goes on by the foundation, and without the foundation, we physicians don't get a chance to do the work that we do.
We'd like to thank you so much for the $32,000 that you pledged at last year's gala. This money was spent on a portable defibrillator. This life-saving piece of equipment has made a difference to many of our patients at the hospital. Often in the emergency department, we just don't know who's going to present at our desk. Some patients may be having trouble breathing or may be so deeply unconscious that they can't breathe on their own. In a case like this, we may have to put a tube in their throat and attach them to a ventilator to assist with their breathing.
Patients who are in respiratory failure, they're not getting oxygen into their bodies and circulating to their bodies, and the carbon dioxide that's produced by the cells of your body isn't being expelled. So we need a ventilator that can properly ventilate patients, not just to get the oxygen in, but to get the carbon dioxide out.
So we had a baby named baby Carson that, when born, was having difficulty breathing.
At 35 weeks, I was told I was going to be induced, and at 10:34, Carson was born.
We didn't hear him cry. We knew something was wrong.
We didn't have the ventilator that is specific to his size. So we had to manually bag or manually breathe for this child when they're born for a number of hours.
It seemed like they maybe tried a couple times to not have to help him out, but it seemed to be quite clear that if they weren't hand pumping, then, you know, they had to. There didn't seem to be a choice.
So it wasn't until we got a phone call the next morning and Nolan said he's not able to breathe on his own. He's needing to have some extra help, and when he's stabilized a bit, they will be moving him so he can have a ventilator to breathe with.
It was kind of gave us a little bit of a helpless feeling.
So the ventilator Carson was put on was giving him oxygen, but also allowing his lungs to work at the same time. So it was that partial oxygen that he was getting, but he was getting enough that would help him breathe. He was taken off, and within a few seconds he stopped breathing completely, so they knew that he needed to continue on with being on a ventilator.
If that had been there for Carson, things would have been a lot different for him. It's important to have that piece of equipment within the first few seconds of their life when they're not able to breathe on their own.
Kind of the first time I got to hold him, it made us really feel like we were parents. It just kind of, it was all a blur until then, but it was pretty neat.
No, it's very good to know now that the ventilator is there for any other children that will need it, and they probably will need it.
Now we do have a pediatric ventilator that enables us to do the same thing for baby Carson as we're doing for Gail.
On September the 24th, my life was saved when I was taken to Ridge Meadows Hospital.
A very common example in the community these days is people that have been smokers, and because of that they've progressed to have a condition called COPD, which is chronic obstructive pulmonary disease. It's much more difficult for them to take a breath in and breath out.
I woke up at about 4 or 5. I just wasn't breathing right. I wasn't feeling good. I was just gasping for breath.
Once stabilized, then she could be moved to an appropriate place. Now, as it turned out, we didn't have the ventilator beds available in our hospital at that time. So Gail was transferred seamlessly, providing intensive care all the way to Abbotsford Hospital using a transport ventilator.
Where I spent 5.5 days. 4 totally unconscious.
With a transport ventilator that we received from the foundation just over a year ago, we were able to properly ventilate Gail. I'm not sure she would have made it without that ventilator.
These 2 breathing machines or ventilators that we've utilized, we were able to do that through the generous donations to the foundation from people in the community like yourselves.
The equipment we work with is very expensive, and without the foundation backing us, there's no way we could provide the level of support we provide for our patients of Maple Ridge and Pitt Meadows and elsewhere. We can't afford to be in the situation where we're in the emergency department and we don't have a ventilator because one is out on a transfer. Tonight at the Gala, we need your help to fund our ventilator. We need $20,000.
So tonight, we're asking you to dig deep to help save lives at Ridge Meadows Hospital.
I encourage you now to continue to donate towards our current project, the Portable Ventilator.
You don't know whose life you might be helping or saving or making things better for them when a situation arises, and giving to Ridge Meadows Hospital goes a long way to make things better for people.
We know we can count on your support for this vital piece of equipment.